Mike just reminded me of one of my favorite sayings, like a monkey with a shotgun. Truer words have rarely been spoken. One of the primary reasons that I got into valuation of commercial real estate is because I ran the access program for the Kansas DOT, and I got completely sick of developers and business owners jumping up and down on my desk and screaming at me that what I was making them do or not allowing them to do was going to ruin their values. And I had no way of answering that. So I developed my own credentials as a general certified appraiser. And then I realized that the appraisal industry doesn't have any idea how to answer that question either. Imagine my dismay. So what I did with the help of my business partner and a colleague of ours at Wichita State University, an absolute stone cold genius in statistical analysis by the name of Stan Longhofer, is that we did a statewide survey that, to the best of our knowledge, is the largest sample multivariate analysis of the effects of different variables on sale price of commercial real estate ever performed. What a mouthful, right? But we utilized sale price since Kansas is a reporting state and all real estate transactions are reported to the state. We have data on theoretically every one of those, and utilizing the Appraisal Institute's and the Appraisal Foundation's definitions of arm's length and market value and all that kind of stuff, we found and confirmed and developed a database of as many commercial sales as we could find to include 19 independent variables. And then we ran all sorts of Scooby-Doo type tests on how significant are each of those variables and how do they interact with one another. And then finally, how do they interact with the dependent variable of sale price? Turned out to be really, really cool. We selected data from 17 different counties. Some are metropolitan, some are micropolitan. And the sample size was appreciable. We had something like 1,644 confirmed sales over a 2-year period. Like I said, our knowledge is the largest such study ever done, before or since. And we took a look at variables of the site, that is to say the land. We took a look at variables of the improvements, that is to say the buildings. And we took a look at variables of the transportation network, and that's the one I'm going to focus on because that's the one we care about, to include things like functional classification of abutting roadways, such as dimension of frontage, such as number of curb cuts, i.e. driveways, such as traffic exposure. We threw all these into this big statistical hopper, and Stan Longhofer went to work. And what we found was really sort of interesting. We were able to complete the data set. Stan Longhofer said that it was the cleanest data he'd ever seen. And in a world where Stan is a professor of finance with an emphasis in real estate at Wichita State University, so in a world where a sample size of 30 is considered probably statistically adequate, a sample size of 1,644 is really something. It really is kind of noteworthy. And he did all his reindeer games with all the various things that he likes to do. And we found some really kind of interesting things. Among other things, we found that the parcel type, which is to say corner, mid-block, or interior, in and of itself, it can be significant, especially for retail and office properties. Anything that you see that has 3 stars next to it, we are 99% sure that that variable is statistically significant to the question of sale price. Anything with 2 stars, we are 95% sure it is significant. And anything with 1 star, we are 90% sure that it is significant. So anything that doesn't have a star by it, we cannot reliably say we cannot reliably extract any effects of those variables to sale price of commercial real estate. Notice anything? Yeah, not that many things can be reliably said to directly impact sale price of commercial real estate. That's exactly right. So notice anything else? See any stars next to curb cuts? Nope. Me either. Vacant land is the only one that showed any significance at all, and then only if you have 2 or more curb cuts. And that was kind of curious. So we took a closer look at that, and what we decided is that there is some collinearity. Anybody heard that term before? As one variable goes, a related variable will also go, and that doesn't imply significance. That implies an interrelationship that probably needs to be masked out somehow. And we found out that more curb cuts to vacant land probably also correlates to larger property sizes, larger lot sizes. So what is the most significant variable in land? You notice that up there? Lot size. So as lot size goes, numbers of curb cuts also go. So that's sort of a ghost effect, we think. But as far as improved properties go, retail, office, industrial, those are our other 3 groups. Curb cuts don't make any difference. What was really sort of curious to us is that the interaction of whether or not a property was a corner lot and how that intersection was controlled, i.e. whether or not there was a signal, did turn out to be quite significant. And that's not unexpected. Any of us who have valued more than about 2 or 3 properties in our career would kind of expect that. But what it means is the difference between an unsignalized corner and a signalized corner for a retail property is about 17%. It is quite significant. So when a developer is jumping up and down screaming at you, insisting that they have to have a signal, that's why. It makes their property more valuable. Now, I'm not advocating more signals. I personally think signals is one of those stupid engineer tricks that gets overutilized and in many cases probably causes as many problems or more problems than it solves. So I'm not advocating more signals. Rather, I am acknowledging the motivation behind that demand. So as a matter of public policy, if I, as a developer, and I'm sure Art has dealt with this more times than he can count, as a matter of public policy, if as a developer I am demanding of you that you grant me a signal, heck, I'll pay for it. Fine, where do I sign? What I am really demanding is that you indulge me and penalize everybody else. So as a matter of public policy, are you okay with that? Is really the question when it comes to that. What really did strike us about all of these things is when we took a look at our various groups, we had 693 sales in our retail group. And thanks to the model that Professor Longhofer was able to derive, we are able to explain 78.4% of the scatter in 693 sales. Can anybody top that one? That's almost suspiciously good, isn't it? Anybody work with statistics at all? Anybody ever find a model that explained more than 78.4% of the scatter in almost 700 observations? Yeah, it's from interactions of things that don't have anything to do with transportation at all. So do you folks have the ability to negatively impact property values by what you do or do not permit? Okay, theoretically it's possible, sure. I mean, that's what triggers the need for compensation in the law, right? That's what Jim and John and all those folks spend their careers trying to keep you out of trouble on. But you have to try pretty hard to do it. In fact, I would go so far as to say you really almost have to go out of your way to do it. So has anybody in here ever come up against an opposing expert witness that just insists that denial of a driveway will decrease the property value by X percent. You know, I know Sue has. She and I have had this conversation. There have been some others. Okay. Were they able to explain to your satisfaction their basis for that claim? Yeah, of course you can always manipulate data, right? Yeah, you can lie, you can damn lie, or you can use statistics, as Mark Twain once said. But for the most part, the notion that by denial or curtailment or limitation of access, you are going to make or break the value of a property is laughable. I don't buy it for a minute. And I find no compelling evidence in the engineering world or the appraisal world that would support that. Go ahead, Sue. Yeah, the appraiser puts that value in there, but in order for me to... Mm-hmm. 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 So you're telling me that the only difference between those two properties, the one with the median opening and without the property, the only discernible difference between those two was the presence or absence of a median opening, correct? That is their actual argument, yes. Bull. But that's what they say, and then they accomplish it because people pay them more money for a property. Okay. That a chrome-plated toilet is still a toilet. And they're selling something they don't own. Their property is marketed and being sold for $1 million more because they have a median, and yet they have no right or ownership of the median, but they're paying the money for the property. Yes, but that does not. And you wonder why they cry damages. Right, right. Yeah, no, I understand that that is their opinion. I've got no problem with the fact that that is their opinion. It's just that if somebody is a general certified appraiser and they put an opinion in a report, and let's face it, they are called opinions of value for a reason, aren't they? There is supposed to be a rational basis for that opinion, and the reader of that report is supposed to be able to see the evidence and understand the analysis behind that opinion, correct? Yes. Have you ever seen a satisfactory explanation of that? No. Me either. Yeah, I haven't seen that either. And here is some additional support for the fact that such opinions are baseless. It's smoke and mirrors. It's pure supposition. It does not exist. It is not supportable in the market, period, end. Right. Thank you. I figured Sue has a big mouth, and the microphone pretty much picked her up anyway. We also were able to explain 78.4% of the office of the scatter in the office group. The variable that was most significant in office that really did surprise us is the type of construction of the office building. A high-rise is in a class by itself, what we call Class A or Class B construction in the appraisal industry, as opposed to a Class C, which would be a masonry construction, or a Class D, which would be wood frame. Anybody who walks into your office and slaps down a report that mixes and matches those construction types and calls them comparable, you should probably cry foul and demand to see their evidence. Because according to what we found, you can't hardly adjust those enough to really make them comparable and still call them comparables. By the time your adjustments exceed 50%, is it really a comparable? I realize there are no hard and fast rules to that in the appraisal industry, but I'm personally quite disturbed by that. And then for industrial has absolutely is absolutely unaffected that we can tell by transportation. The only thing that industrials care about Can their trucks get there? Can their trucks get out? That's it. And what complicates the picture even further is there's pretty significant anecdotal evidence, as Art brought out. I don't know of a way to really analyze this quantitatively, but there's an awful lot of anecdotal evidence that internal access and circulation and cross-parking arrangements and access connections that have good egress capacity during peak times and can get more customers in and out, support higher property values, support higher lease rates, have lower and less chronic vacancy problems, and generally sell for more money. The out parcels in front of the Walmarts and whatnot, those sell at a premium for a reason. And it has nothing to do with where the driveways are. Okay? So access connections, let's not be coy and let's not be flip about this, at least not completely. I understand that that's my style, but I don't mean to be. It's not that access connections are unimportant. Obviously, you must be able to get there from here and get back out again. So it's not like access connectivity is irrelevant. It's just that the effect of access connectivity upon sale price cannot be reliably extracted in the market. And there is this document. It is a national document. It applies just as much in Wisconsin as it does anyplace else, called the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. And it contains a fair number of thou shalt nots. And above all other things, thou shalt not be misleading. And to insinuate that a median opening or a driveway more or less measurably impacts property value is, in my opinion, misleading. And that is, again, in my view, the cardinal sin of the appraisal world. All right? How's that for charged statements this morning? Go ahead, sir. Is this published? Yes. A paper on this study is published in Transportation Research Record, volume 2556, I believe, October of 2016. Welcome. And there is no combination of functional classification of roadway or curb cuts or dimension of frontage that was found to be statistically significant. Some of the most valuable real estate is adjacent to roadways to which they have no right of access, interstate freeways. Do you suppose that's a coincidence? Do you want to tell me again how important driveways are to driving property value? I don't see any evidence of that. Really, I don't. The traffic volume, however, is statistically significant. In fact, for retail properties, what we find is a 1% increase in traffic volume correlates to a 0.25% increase in sale price. So if your project is expected to accommodate an increase of X% in ADT, then it seems to me that you have increased the value of that retail property, not diminished it. Yes, please.
Chris, your slide prompted a recollection of an article many years ago, I believe in ITE Journal, where somebody in the Northeast, the New England area, was investigating the ITE trip generation reports values, comparing those to actual measured trip generation at a number of sites. And what they found was not that the ITE numbers were the best predictors, but the best correlation with actual volume in and out of these sites was traffic volume.
That doesn't surprise me. Obviously, there's a reason why the Walgreens of the world are willing to pay whatever it costs to get a corner parcel just exactly where they want it, right? And they're willing to pay exorbitantly over market to get it because that's where the demographics are and that's where the traffic volumes are. So traffic volume is quite significant. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me, Professor. Signalization, and we've already talked about this, the interaction of signalization and corner property is also found to be significant. But that sort of begs an important public policy question. Is there a duty on the part of the public to maximize the value of commercial property? Ooh, there's a charged question. Remember what Ernie said? Watch out. You could be letting yourself in for bigger problems than you're solving.
No, I was just going to agree. I think the decision to signalize should be a safety issue, not anything to do with what their value is.
I agree. But that's not the way that elected and appointed officials tend to view these things sometimes. The other thing that really, and I'm going to leave with this. The other thing, everybody has seen this little blobby thing. Anybody who's ever taken the NHI courses has certainly seen this blobby thing. And this has been around for a very long time. Phil, about 1963? ITE, Transportation and Land Use? Yeah, this has been around for a long, long time. I believe Stover and Kepke in ITE, Transportation and Land Use, first figured this out. Something called the ratio of the squares, the effect of bollocksing up the transportation network has a geometric and negative effect on property value. It has a geometric and negative effect on property value because it has a geometric and negative effect on market area and market penetration. And that's just as simple as that can possibly get. What we are only just now beginning to talk about, what we're only just now beginning to try to get our heads around, and there is an NCHRP project that is just getting underway that will hopefully take a look at this, is that the one appreciating asset in the whole public portfolio is the corridor. Everything else, if we look at it from an asset management perspective, everything else, pavements, structures, pavement markings, signs, signals, all of it. All of that stuff all of these things are diminishing value assets. They all lose value over time. They have to be periodically fixed or replaced, correct? But the corridors themselves, the land itself, is supposed to theoretically never lose value. That's one of the central tenets of the appraisal industry, right? Improvements lose value. Land theoretically never loses value. Well, tell that to the economy in about 2006, 2007, and tell me all about how land never loses value, right? What is also particularly disturbing to me about that assumption is if injudicious permitting or allowance of encroachment in the form of access connections or signalization so jams up our surface transportation network, be it state, county, or city, it's all part of the surface transportation network. No vehicle or user of those roadways cares at all about who is regulatorily responsible for the roadway they happen to be on. It makes absolutely no difference. No matter how it gets bollocksed up, if too many access connections and too many signals screw it all up to the point that we have to go in and acquire more land to recapture that capacity, or we have to bypass a section of it to recapture capacity, how have we not implicitly written off a significant portion, if not all, of the value of the one appreciating asset that we're charged with managing? And that's the possibility that really does disturb me a lot, and I don't think we've done a very good job trying to frame, let alone answer that question just yet.